Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Joe Davis, Southern New Hampshire University Justice 101. Today we're going to talk about Milestone One. So we are in Module 2, and it is your final project, Milestone One. This is the Milestone One guidelines and rubric. Please take time to read it, make sure you understand it, all the parts of it. I'm going to go through everything that you see on this page slide by slide with you to help, but I want to make sure that you do on your own read this and understand, because you have to complete all 5 of these. Okay, the next part of it is here are the grading critical elements of it, so it can show you the things that you'll be graded on for this paper. Okay, make sure you understand that guidelines and rubric. Okay, now we're going to switch to the more traditional PowerPoint presentation, where we're going to talk about the very specific items that come up. Okay, here is the assignment. This is the very first paragraph where it talks about your first milestone introduces you to the necessity of communication between agencies. So that's the key to this assignment: communication and collaboration. Okay, there are several examples of how one incident requires the attention of more than one branch of the criminal justice system. And so what you have to do for this assignment is put yourself in the shoes of the officers in each of those scenarios. How would you ensure that the best possible outcome is accomplished? That's what you're going to work on. That's what you're going to write about. That's what you're going to research. Okay, here is the very specific assignment. Read the following scenarios. Remember, there are actually 4 scenarios. The 5th one is your evaluation of yourself and how you did in these. Okay, so read the following scenarios and answer each prompt. Remember, you may complete your project as either a Word document or as a presentation, a PowerPoint. If you select a presentation, it should be 2 or 3 slides, just depending how you lay it out. Okay, if you select a Word document, it probably is going to be 1 or 2 pages long. Here are the critical elements for A. So I had lowercase a with a parenthesis behind it. This is A out of the guideline. How does the ability to conduct legal searches differ between a police officer, a probation officer, and a prison guard in the performance of their duties? Give an example of interagency collaboration when conducting a legal search. Okay, now the next slide, I'm going to have to change from this format so you can see it in a working format, so you can see an example of what the slide would say, and then also what the notes would say, which is your written narrative that goes with it. Okay? Okay, as you can see, here is the next slide. Let me make it just a little bit larger so perhaps it's a little easier to see. And it's the question that's asked, the prompt is the ability to conduct legal searches. Police officers, probation officers, and they call them prison guards. I think they would much prefer to be known as correctional officers. Okay, the police need a warrant, or they need probable cause, or there are certain exceptions to when they may search. That's part of the discussion question for this week. A probation officer may have the right to search because the client is on search and seizure, okay, where the probation officer doesn't need any reason to search. Now, as we go through the narrative that I wrote, there's some more information about that, because generally those orders are written that any peace officer, so that means a police officer could. But it could be a drug test. It could be that a probationer is required to meet with a probation officer once a week, once a month, whatever it is, and provide a urine sample for a drug test, something like that. Okay, maybe wear a patch for alcohol. A prison guard has much more latitude. They may search any inmate anytime, the housing units of that inmate, the belongings of that inmate, any part of the facility for security reasons. Okay, nothing stops these 3 agencies from working together. And so if you're a police officer and you know that your subject that you're looking for, a suspect or just a person of interest, is on probation, you will go find the probation officer. If you know they're in prison or just came out of prison or a county jail, you're going to get a hold of someone in the prison system because you want to look at telephone records or you want to look at visitor logs. Okay, the prison guard can look at all those without a warrant. A police officer, generally speaking, can't just knock on the door and do it. All right, the type is very difficult to see. I apologize for that. I couldn't figure out how to make it larger. But what my narrative says is basically what we've been talking about just now. The police officers have to have a warrant. They can have to have probable cause, or there's certain exceptions for things like exigent circumstances. Okay, a warrant, it has to be gotten in advance. It has to include the location, street address, description of the building, what the officers expect to find. They even have to return a receipt to the court. Okay, probable cause may exist based on the facts of the situation. I came up with the example of a car matching a kidnapping description. So the officers stop, the violator, the driver, is compliant, but the officers search the trunk because they're looking for the victim of the crime. They're looking for to see if it's the right suspect. That would also follow under, and you would have probable cause to do that. It would also fall under an exigent circumstance. You're worried about the welfare of the victim of the kidnapping. So that made it hopefully a reasonable twofold example. Probation officers, as I said, can search without a warrant. They can have drug tests because a probationer has signed a document, a court document, waiving their Fourth Amendment protections. Okay, and as a term or a condition, it says that any peace officer can search. They can knock on the door and come through your house. Excuse me, those kinds of things. The correctional officers I already mentioned about searching inmates and their property and all of that. When a prisoner is released from the state prison system and they are on parole, they're going to have very strict guidelines for parole. Parole agents are fully armed, gun-toting peace officers here, at least here in California, and work in conjunction every day with police officers and probation officers. Kicked more doors with parole agents than probably anyone else. Okay, so my last little sentence there says the importance of this communication and collaboration should be clear. That is, police officers work directly with probation officers in special enforcement teams all across the country. Probation officer, police officer riding in the same police car. Police officers and probation officers work directly with correctional officers, frequently on special enforcement teams, task forces, intelligence gathering, multi-agency task forces, all of those kinds of things. The terrorist early warning groups, intelligence gathering organizations. So I hope that gives you an example of what a slide would look like. You'd need one for each of those 5 items, critical elements. Okay, we're back looking now at the remaining ones. This is B. A police officer was conducting an investigation involving an incarcerated prisoner. Police officer would like to know who the prisoner spoke to on the phone and who visited him. Describe who the police officer would need to collaborate with to obtain that information and explaining why. Okay, so that would be the correctional officer. And they may go through the classification team, they may go through a gang task force team. Just depends on what they're working on, but that's who they would collaborate with. In recent past, the change for telephone systems to digital phones have really changed the way police officers, correctional officers, probation officers can access information. Telephone systems in jails can be programmed for certain words so that if someone is on the phone and talks about murder, it will flag that phone call for some member of staff to review and see what was the context of it. Okay? All right, when we look at C, the next one up, Lou. A suspect the officer was investigating in a burglary case was just convicted for that crime. Prior to his sentence, a pre-sentence report must be completed. So who is most likely to conduct the investigation? The police officer, probation officer, or the prison guard? It's going to be conducted by the probation officer. Okay, who will he or she collaborate with to complete this report? They're going to go back and look and see if there are any current investigations, namely that police officer. They may also go to a correctional officer Same thing. Who was this person talking to the last time they were in jail? Or it can work the other way around, where Lou is our suspect here. Lou, who is it that Lou talked to from his home phone? That sort of thing, from his cell phone. All right, D, select one of the court cases where communication and collaboration were driving factors and discuss the impact of that case in the reshaping of the role of corrections practitioner. Choose one of the three cases below to complete critical element D. You will need to use this same case study when you're submitting your final project. I didn't recopy those for you, okay, but there's Estelle versus Gamble, Turner versus Safely, and then Rosencrantz. And so they are all correctional cases. One that deals with the quality of health care. The 1976 case decision says that you have to provide health for them, so that it's pretty easy to look at that one and see. The for some reason, Turner Safely is a flat blank in my brain. I'm hurrying to finish this for you. Rosencrantz is a rather complicated case about sentencing. Sentenced 17 to life. He got parole, but wanted his time, where he was over detained, as it's called. Interesting stuff to study. But the key to this is that you're going to look at it for yourself and then see and answer E, the last one, C, based on your findings. Which one of these fits you? Which one's interesting to you? Which one do you go, God, I could care less about that? Okay, that's the first part of guiding you on your career path. Okay, write about that. Why is it that you thought the particular case about the legal searches was interesting, or whatever? Okay, I hope that helps. Let me know if you need help. As always, we can talk on the phone, text, send emails, use Skype, or use joinme.com. Keep those cards and letters coming. Let me know what I can do to help.